Hi YouTube, how are you doing today? Welcome to an awesome headphone review. This is going to be the Audeze Lcd 2C, and I've been looking forward to reviewing these headphones for quite some time. Full disclosure, Audeze did send these to me, but that will not impact my decision and the information I'm going to be giving to you today. So a little bit of background about me. I do a lot of gaming content now, but I actually started with a lot of tech reviews. I love headphones. I'm like a dip my toe in the water kind of audiophile. I'm not someone who's going to break down science and frequency graphs and all that kind of stuff and analyze on that kind of level. But what I like to do is listen to music, play games, listen to movies with all sorts of different studio grade open back headsets. I have right now next to me, I have the Sennheiser HE6XX, the Hi-Fi Man HE4XX. I have the AKG K7XX. I have the Sennheiser HD800S. Which go for $1,500. And I have the Audeze Penrose here, and I also have a bunch of other wireless gaming headsets. Now, the Audeze Lcd 2Cs, these retail at $800, so we're going to break them down pretty in depth today with someone that has my perspective and kind of like a very, very casual audiophile thinks about them upon listening and testing. First thing I want to get into is build. Before we even do that, look at the case these things come in. I believe, after reading a lot about these over the last couple years, these weren't always sent in a case. So these used to be $800 without a case. This case here from Audeze is a tank. Look at this thing. And this retails at, I think, like $120. So recently, instead of dropping the price of the headphone, we'll get into that later, about how I feel about all that. They added in a nice solid case. Let me open it up for you. This is what the inside looks like. Inside of the case is pretty comfy, cozy. Got a cool little design here. It's cool. So if you want to ship your headphones to a friend, I mean, the headphones are shipped in the case they got here completely flawless. If you want to, transport your headphones, if you use them for work, whatever, it's good to have the case for sure. Also, cable. So the cable Audeze sends is really nice. It's tangle free. Sometimes cables that are built like this, as they move around, you'll actually hear a little bit of feedback in the headphones. This is whisper quiet, and we have mini XLR connectors, which is quite alright. It's quite fine. It's not proprietary like you would see with like the Sennheiser HD800S has their own like custom connectors that A, are horrible. Everyone hates those connectors for that headphone, and B, they're you have to buy them from Sennheiser pretty much. So that's that. I like the cable. Now let's get into the build. The build is sturdy. Very, very sturdy. And when I first picked these up out of the case, I said, whoa, these are hefty. And is that a good thing? You might be thinking heavy headphones, bad comfort. And we'll get into that because comfort's what we're going to get into next. But let's just go over a couple of the aspects of the build. A lot of metal here. Very sturdy built. These ear pads are very thick with a lot of like this soft, comfy pillow-like leather material. Very cool. I think that's memory foam. The head strap. So we have a metal headband here, and the head strap itself is this comfy leather-like material, and it's super freaking wide. From top to bottom here, it's super wide, and that's going to factor into comfort in a minute. My favorite part about the build going to be these little connectors here, because you see those little ridges, slides up, slides down, it's not super easy to slide, which is a good thing, but we have ridges, so we know exactly where we are set on the headband, in terms of the head strap and the distance and all that, and B, they don't move in a phantom way. What I mean by that is some headsets you'll find you're moving them around, putting them on the head, taking them off the head, setting them on the desk, going to get a drink, coming back, and you'll find 3 hours later that, oh no, it's moved. It's moved and I didn't move it. And that's something that's super annoying to me. And this headphone is super sturdy in those connectors, so in those joints there. So that is a big thing for me because I've actually tested these for quite a few hours now. I've had them on my head for hours and hours at a time, listening to music, playing some games, editing, watching movies. And I've been purposely trying not to check to see if they moved until hours and hours later, and they never have. So that's big on me. That's my favorite personal part of the build. I guess you could call me weird, but it's just a good feeling knowing that they're never going to move. You don't have to be careful with how you put them on your head, like super careful, because those connections are firm in place. So I like that. Now let's get on to comfort. So you might be thinking, heavy headphone, we're going to sacrifice some comfort for that. Not really. I think this is heavy done right. And I'll be I'm pretty particular with comfort. I always do prefer a lighter headphone. I think most people do. I think even if Audeze wasn't going to sacrifice on the sound quality, they'd obviously try to go lighter. And I believe with a lot of their headphones recently, they have made lighter versions, because lighter is just about unanimously always better. But if they're going to be heavy, you got to figure out how to make that a good heavy. So these are heavy done right. And I think a big part of that is going to be the head strap here, the leather head strap, and just how much distance that covers on the top of the head. There are no hot spots. There are no hot spots, and I've worn these for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. No hot spots. I barely even feel them on the top of my head. I mean, you know it's there because of the weight. The ear pads, they're deep, they're comfortable, and they don't weaken to the point where your ear is going to touch the driver. So I've never had my ears actually touch the inside of the driver. And if your ears do touch the inside of the driver, it gets very uncomfortable. And I know it bothers me. I'm kind of picky about that. So not touching the driver is huge. So it's like your ears have their own little Thunderdome in there, chilling. And all good things on the comfort. Now, what I will say is these are never going to be headphones you forget are on the top of your head. You're going to know that you're wearing headphones when you have these on, just because of the sheer size they take up and the weight they have. But they are comfortable. At no point was I ever like, oh man, I need to take these off, take a break, and just chill. Where I have with other headphones that are either super clampy, because these aren't super clampy. There's enough clamp there to keep them on your head, but they're not super clampy. I wouldn't call them a clampy headphone. Yeah, so that could be a comfort issue, as well as just like the hot spot on the top of the head. They nail both of those things in a good middle ground way that keeps them comfortable for a long period of time. So I'm confident with calling these a comfortable headphone. Are they perfect? No, it's been possible to be when they're that heavy though, but they're as good as you're gonna get at that weight. So I hope that helps describe the comfort. And as with like the build and the comfort with anything in this review, if you have a particular question that's specific to you or something I didn't answer, I mean, I have these up right next to my desk at all times, so I can test that for you, or maybe I left it out of the review, forgot to mention it, and I'll reply as fast as possible. So please don't hesitate to put your questions in the comments, or come on over to a Twitch stream when I'm live and ask a quick question where I could maybe answer it for you there. Now, let's get into sound. So, anyone who's buying an $800 pair of headphones is going to be curious about the sound first and foremost, because that's why you're buying a headphone, right? Now, a little bit of background on what I'm using. I'm using the SMSL M500 MK2, which will power these headphones with its headphone amp, which isn't that powerful. So these aren't that hard to drive. But I'm using the balanced out on that into the back of my THX 789 amplifier, and I am actually running these with balanced XLR. They came unbalanced, so I did test that out first. I do think they sound slightly better balanced. It could just be placebo. I mean, I'm open to that. I know a lot of audiophiles will swear by balance and say that it's better. For me, I do think they sounded better that way, but I'm open to the fact that it could just be me being like super excited about getting a different cable, and you know, we can get in our own heads sometimes. But I believe in my soul that it sounds better balanced on the THX 789 with the SMSL M500 MK2 as the DAC. Now, how do they actually sound overall? We're going to do music here, we're going to do gaming, we're going to do movies. For music, you may have read about these for years and years on different threads. You may have seen different reviews of them. And I think that some of the positive things you're going to hear and some of the negative things you're going to hear are both true. But what it really comes down to with these is knowing what you're getting and why. So if you want to do, you know, some high-end studio mixing, you probably have a different headset in mind that's going to give you the most analytical approach ever. So the best thing about these headphones is one of the things people complain about with them, where they're super fun, they're not super analytical, but they're more of like a fun sound. So for some people, that's a bad thing. I know that going from my HD 800S to these, the 800S, they sound like they're forcing detail into your ears, like they're packing it in, as much detail as possible. You will hear this, and we will present it to you in a way that you're going to hear it. And they have more of like a harsh sound that can maybe, depending on the type of music you're listening to, sound fatiguing over time. Where these are, in some ways, like the opposite, where they're fun. So the first time I put these on my head and started listening to music, you notice the bass on a hard-hitting like electronic music song, something like that. The bass has an impact. Boom, boom, boom. It's not overwhelming to where you lose detail, but overall these are like what they would call maybe like a warmer headphone, where they sound less harsh, and generally speaking that's going to mean more fun for like the general person. Not everyone's got their preferences, but also they're smooth. So I never once felt like these had a harsh moment where I was listening to anything and I felt fatigued with the audio or the comfort, as I was mentioning earlier. But so they're smooth, they're fun. The controversial take for me, the hot take is, audiophiles are going to hate this, but I would say, because they're $800 headphone, if you took something consumer, like a consumer tuned sound, something like you know the culprits here, something like a Beats, Skull Candy, maybe like a Sony, a Bose, something like that for headphones that's meant to be more fun and entertaining to the average person that hasn't heard something more analytical or maybe more detailed or tuned differently. I feel like these are that idea, but done well, done in like a good way. I know that sounds like sacrilege to some audiophiles, but that's kind of like how I feel about it. That's not exactly 100% how it is, but that's like the best metaphor I can give to somebody who's either into headphones like this or has never heard them before in their life. So it's more of like these are a great headphone. If you're going to go for your first $800 pair of headphones, they're a great first option for sure, because they're going to be a smooth transition into something that sounds a whole lot better. And that is really cool to me, where like if you go from your casual headphones and throw on a pair of HE 800Ss, you're going to be like, it takes a little bit to truly appreciate them, I think. Where something like this, you're like, whoa, this is kind of similar. Like my brain kind of understands what's going on here, but it's so much better. It sounds wider, it sounds bigger, more detailed, and everything about it is just like a premium experience compared to something more consumer grade. And I think that's the charm of these. And for sure, they're a fun time with music. And yeah, that's probably the best way that I could describe it. In terms of like soundstage, they're wider than the HD6XX, but they're not as wide as the HD 800S. So I mean, they're decently wide. Also, because of the huge planar magnetic drivers in there that are probably twice the average size of a more traditional dynamic driver, they sound huge. Everything just sounds like a little bit taller, just like bigger. Not necessarily like, that's different from like soundstage. It just sounds like bigger, more of an experience. And we'll get into more of that with the movie sounds. So next up is going to be gaming. Know what you're getting into with gaming with these. You need to have a mic solution, because headphones like these do not come with a microphone on them. They're not made for gaming, but they work very well for gaming. So because I have a mic right here, I can just throw these on my head, plug them in, and use this mic to talk to my teammates, whatever I'm doing, live streaming. You could certainly use them for that. For an $800 headphone, they sound really good for gaming. Are they the best gaming headphone on the planet? No, but they have Soundstage, which helps you hear sounds within space. They also have decent imaging, and anytime you have a DAC amp set up like I do, you can set up a free EQ equalizer APO and put like a compressor in there to, hear footsteps better, boost certain frequency ranges to make it customized for the game you're playing. If you want a little bit more bass, you're playing something more immersive, go ahead. You can turn any headphone, pretty much into what you want. Yeah, so these are decent. Now, if you're just looking for a simple plug and play gaming solution, like if gaming's your thing, I would highly recommend the Audeze Penrose, because these have a similar planar magnetic driver in them, 100mm planar magnetic driver in a wireless gaming headset. You just plug in the dongle, sync them up, and the detachable mic. The mic works fine. The only downside to these that I think I had in my review was like the battery life's like 15 hours, which if you charge them every night, you're fine, right? But the sound quality for a wireless gaming headset, because of the drivers they have in there, because it's Audeze and they know what they're doing, the best I've heard in a wireless gaming headset for sure. Okay, so they're okay for gaming. I mean, really good. It's going to sound better than your Razer headsets, obviously, your HyperXs, that kind of stuff. A lot better, night and day. But something to consider if you're a gamer or if you're just anyone. I mean, the open back nature means you're going to have sound leaking out, so anyone around you is going to hear what you're listening to. And this set is very leaky in particular. You can hear a lot of sound leak from a decent, like, I think that I had these sitting here on my desk just with music on, and I heard the music playing from like when I was like walking up the stairs. And this is like, this room is like at the end of the hallway. So there was a decent amount of leak. Also, with open backs, if you're in like a loud ambient noise environment, like say there's an air conditioner in the window next to you or something, that sound's going to leak in. You're not going to be isolated from the world around you. And these could be negatively impacted in that way. So context is very key. So gaming's good. Music is really good. Now, the surprise with these for me was movies. I watched a few movies with these, and they are an experience. They're like a little theater you put on your head. If you just plug them into the DAC amp, tune it how you want, make it, boost the bass a little bit, whatever you want to do. But they sound big, and the sound stage is there and all that. And for movies, they really hit home and add to the experience, I think. So sometimes with a movie, if you're not listening to, say, your favorite soundbar, your favorite surround system, you feel like you put on a headset, you might feel like you're taking away from the movie. But these I felt like added to it, because all the detail was there, all the dialogue was there, and when there was explosions or loud music scenes, all that stuff was super freaking fun. And actually, one of the creative ways that I had listened to a movie with these is I actually have the Sound Blaster Katana V2 on my desk, which I will be reviewing at some point. It's a soundbar that does a lot of different things, but there's a headphone amp in there and DAC, and it will actually output Dolby Audio for movies. And I ran headphone jack from the front of that soundbar into my THX 789 amplifier, just to get a little more juice, and watched a couple movies that way, and it was freaking insane. It was pretty cool. It was a very good time. Also, you can do that for gaming. You can do that with that soundbar for gaming, or if you have an amplifier, you can plug in a number of different, more simplified gaming devices to tune your audio, all those kinds of things. But yes, just strictly sound, headphone, gaming, music, good, movies, good. All that stuff was really cool. And I think that when you're talking about around $1,000 for a headphone, you have to know what you're getting yourself into and what you want. So if you're a newer, inexperienced audiophile looking for your first pair, I think this is a great headset. If you're a more experienced audiophile that is used to more harsh sounding headphones, this is also a great experience. So, but you just have to know what you're getting yourself into. If you go into these expecting, detail upon detail just forced into your ears, like you're taking an x-ray of the song, it's not like that. It's a lot more laid back. It presents all that stuff to you like it's there, but if you want to, you can kind of look for it in the music, if that makes sense. You have to be a little more active in the listening, where like something like the HD800S, it's being like thrown into your ears, where it's like you can try to relax, but you're going to hear this. So that's kind of, the context I would use to explain these. And I really do love this headset. It's awesome. Now, what are the negatives? Well, I would like them to be lighter, as would everyone, as would Audeze, I'm sure. I would love for this headset to be lighter. Also, at $800, I think what I would prefer is, instead of creeping up on $1,000 headphone, where once you get to that like $1,200 mark, $1,000, $1,200, there's a lot of like, it's like the higher end level, where this is like higher mid-range level, I'd say. Obviously headphones go into like the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 range, but when I think of like entry level, I think like up to $300 maybe, like what, $400 to $600 is probably like mid-range, $700 to $1,000 maybe might be like higher level. Then like elite levels, like we're talking like $1,500 and above, something that's like a general idea of how I would categorize it. I think that we could drop these down to closer to a mid-range price if we gave an option to exclude the case. As cool as this case is, as soon as I got the headphones out, I haven't picked it up since, except for to do this review. It's just been sitting on the floor here. It'd be cool if I ever needed it, but I'm not someone who ever takes my open back headphones out or anywhere. So if I could save $150 on a headset like this, pay $650, and all of a sudden it's competing with mid-range headsets, it gets a whole lot better in value. So I think the price could be messed with on that end. But in terms of, just other negatives, if you wanted something more analytical, more detailed, a little bit more harsh sounding, well, it doesn't do that well. There's other headphones that do that, so that's not the draw of this headphone. That's how I feel about these. If you have any questions, we went over a lot. It's already been 20 minutes in this review. I like to ramble and get off track a little bit because I'm so excited about this kind of stuff. But if there's any questions I can answer for you, put them in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, why aren't you subscribed? We got more tech stuff coming. I'll be reviewing the Sound Blaster Katana V2 soon. Also, hopefully, Audeze can send out. I'd love to try the GX headset as well as the LCDX to see how they compare to these. The GX is made for gaming. It's got a mic attached. That's right up my alley. And the LCDX just sound like I've heard insane things about them. So I'd love to test them out and see if they live up to the hype. So if you enjoyed this video, links for everything are in the description of the video. Yeah, thank you for watching. And I hope you found this useful and helpful and a little bit different than your average audiophile review. So I'll see you in the next tech review. And let's go. If you get these, I hope you enjoy.